All right. Welcome back to the Father of the Man podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Wade Johnson,
I'm Derrick Vachon.
the other one. And today we had another, I think, very good discussion. The topic was man is not a woman. And it's kind of picking up on the idea that we left off a couple episodes ago of man is not an animal. We had talked about how one way to look at how to be a successful man or live into that created identity that God made for you, as looking at some of the things that can go wrong with that. So erring on the side of animalism, maybe effeminism. Yeah.
Femininity?
Yeah, femininity, acting too much like a woman, acting like a girl.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, and then being immature or boyish, right? Like not fully developed as a man. So this is the woman-themed one, and that's what we talked about. So enjoy.
You had me at woman.
The man of independent mind. He looks and laughs at all.
Today, we're going to be talking along the lines of some of the stuff we've already addressed as far as what a man is and what he isn't. In the past, we've talked about the concept that man is not a boy, man is not an animal, and man is not a woman. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit? Just for the people that didn't listen?
Elaborate on how man's not those things.
Well, no, we're going to do that. I mean, like, just a general synopsis of the thought behind that.
Yeah, I guess. I think we just kind of I don't know where we pulled it out of exactly, but I think
a good idea.
Yeah. But it kind of came up in conversation naturally, and we were just talking about how one way to kind of look at ways men tend to err or like go off track would be in like these different directions. And for whatever reason, and I think that's that's probably a sound reason. I'm going to stand by it. I seem like I'm not confident. I'm confident that basically...
And when you're not confident, I am confident.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Thanks for filling in for me. But essentially the idea being that there's ways that we can behave more like animals than men. There's ways we can behave more like women than men. Mm-hmm. There's ways we can behave immature and more like boys than men. And so we're just kind of doing episodes on each one of those. So we already did the what is an animal, or not what is an animal. We don't know. A man is not an animal. Yeah, exactly. Man is not an animal. We did that episode, and then we're following up. Now we're doing man is not a woman. Yes. So we're zooming in on the ways men can perhaps stray from masculinity toward a womanly direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's probably, I think we've said this before, there's probably a bunch of other different identity types or archetypes that men could veer toward. But it seems like those three are kind of the big ones.
Yeah, well, and I think it's based off if you're going with the definition of man being an adult human male, right? Yeah, it's kind of like not an adult is a boy, not a male would be a female, and not a human would be an animal. That's kind of,
That's good.
Yeah, so that's kind of, it narrows it down. Because like we talked about before, like you could be like, man is not a
cell phone,
things like that. But I feel like those conversations, I mean, that could be an interesting conversation. We could try it, but I feel like,
Well, if AI has its way, we'll all be cell phones.
There you go. See, I think we'll tap into like man is not a random object, like probably episode 4075 when we're just dried up and have nothing left to talk about.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Man is not a banana.
Exactly. Well, yeah. So basically, where we kind of wanted to start with. Well, here I'll ask you a question to start with. You ready? Okay. So, what are some anatomical differences you've noticed between men and women? Sorry.
Why are you sorry?
I'm sorry that I giggled. That's what I was apologizing for. Not that I asked the question. I was acting like a boy.
Are you saying what are anatomical differences, or what do I think might be?
I asked what you noticed.
What I've noticed is there's a pretty stark biological difference.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the chromosomes under a microscope.
Me neither.
But I know there's a big difference between XX and XY.
Yeah.
And that usually comes to fruition in body parts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's some pretty obvious differences that men through the ages have noticed, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of similarities, right?
Yeah.
Eyeballs, noses, ears, generally.
Yeah. There's a lot there.
But then there's some differences.
Yeah, exactly. Very important, very wonderful differences.
Do you want me to say specifically what those differences
are? No,
are?
not really. The point.
We all know what we're talking about?
We do. The point is, I think, it's absurd. The conversation feels absurd to have to like explain that there's two genders and that
Yes.
and that they're different from one another and that they're biologically different, whatever. Like it feels very like I don't know. It just feels
Dystopian.
yeah, it's bizarre to even like
Yes.
have to clarify that. But hey, man, we're in the world we're in, so
Yeah.
people are really confused out there. So I mean, we're on Team Sanity, and we believe that there are men and women, and they are different.
It is interesting because you're right. There is a lot of confusion,
Sure.
but that was intentionally sewn into the fabric of
Yeah.
society.
Yeah, it's not a naturally discovered confusion.
It's not like, oh, we just never knew. Like it's
Yeah.
like, and truth is immutable. So
Yeah.
it's interesting that thousands and thousands of years of recorded history, this hasn't really been a question.
Right.
And there's been cultures that have dabbled in interesting ideas about it.
Sure.
But ultimately, it's like, yeah, this is, I feel, well, in our lifetime, definitely, this is the first time where it's been like, nope, there's no difference.
yeah. Yeah, and trying to force that has been, we've been seeing different things play out in our society that have been just like really dark and weird and just unhelpful for the people that believe them. And that's something I would say on this topic is like because anybody, I feel like people who are on the other side of this topic who are like, oh, gender is a spectrum and you get to choose your truth and all this relativity and whatever. And I don't want to straw man their position, but I feel like it's a very common thing that they are very quick to assign phobias to you if you disagree with them, right?
Which is, that's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah,
The
me
word
too.
phobic,
Yeah.
it means fear.
Yeah, I know.
There are, I can definitively say there's certain things I'm not afraid of.
Sure.
And a lot of this stuff falls into that category.
Yeah, exactly. Or even so either phobia or they'll go the like you are killing me with your words or whatever, or they'll do the
Yeah.
whole like, words are violence, or they'll act like you just hate you're not giving them the right to exist, or there's all these different things that come up. And I just think that I don't know, like those seem so unreasonable to me that I don't know how helpful it is to even reason with it. But to whatever extent I can, I would just say like, hey, you have a right to exist. That's not the point.
Yes.
You don't have a right to force people to believe lies. You don't have that right.
Right.
But I mean, like that said, like I just wanted to say like, I love every human on the planet in a certain sense, in the sense
Sure,
that like, I
yeah.
believe that they're created in the image of God. I believe that they absolutely have just as much a right to life as I do. But that said, truth is truth and lies are lies. And it's hating a lie or hating the fruits of a lie is not the same as hating the person that believes the lie.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
just pointing that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. for
And a
what that's
lot of
worth.
it is, like you said, confusion, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the youth that is struggling with
Yeah.
these concepts, it's not like they're out there intentionally trying to do something against truth. They're out there trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and I think speaking
Yeah.
the truth in love is necessary.
Yeah.
Some things just need to be said. And it's weird that some things need to be said, like obvious things that humanity has held to since the beginning. But here we are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a good point. There's no animosity toward the people.
No,
There's
not at all.
animosity toward ideologies that destroy people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hate the lies very much. I think they destroy the people that believe them first and foremost, and then they spread outward in destruction from there.
Yeah.
And so it's something we definitely want to speak against as far as the ideology that says that men and women are exactly the same, or there's no difference, or that it's some sort of spectrum and you get to make up whatever
Right.
you get to make up. And I think a lot's been said against that, but I don't know. We have a podcast that at least several people listen to at this point. So,
Thank you.
So for what it's worth, we want to say the same thing. I mean, I'm putting words in your mouth now, but I think you agree with me.
I agree.
Yeah, cool. So I guess just starting from that place, like, yeah, we are talking about two different things here, men and women, right? Like you said, there's a ton of overlap, and there's a ton of, and that's why I think we've said before on the podcast, like men aren't the opposite of women. They're, like we're
Right.
both humans. And I think I think to the extent that men and women are different, I think it's really cool and really beautiful to see the different strengths and weaknesses of the different sexes, and to see how they complement each other, and see, well, I said that word, complement each other.
We think complementarian.
yeah.
Is that why you said it that way?
No, I don't know. Whatever. I don't fully understand
Why did
that
you
term.
inflect that way?
It was an accident.
Okay. All right. moving on.
So I think that it's a beautiful thing and I experience that all the time in my marriage. Like yeah, I like
Yeah.
the differences between men and women,
Yes.
I think it serves the family really well, and it serves society really well when men and women are like embracing how God created them to be and really flourishing in that, you know.
And you can statistically, without getting opinionated, see the inverse is also true.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So what are we talked about, like, I mean, obviously there's this whole trans ideology, gender is a spectrum ideology thing. I think another thing that really attacks the reality of how God made men and women is essentially the feminist movement, and the feminist movement is an interesting thing to bring up and to dive into, because it obviously has a long history and a lot of different iterations through time. Like there's like different waves, right? Is that how they
Right.
break it down? Like
Yeah,
third wave feminism. Yeah, it's
fourth
like
wave now,
yeah, it's like kind of the same thing as like coffee, you know?
Third wave coffee shops are
Yeah, that's a whole thing.
super stuffy.
People break things into waves. Anyway, so there's been different feminist thought throughout time, but basically, I think one of the ways that where it airs, which is I think in a lot of places, I think it airs in a similar way to the, I guess, where that ultimately led to the kind of the trans movement, in that it's like this abolishing of any recognition of difference.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And obviously, if you're dealing with like a question of if a woman's doing the same job as a man, should she make the same amount of money? It's like, well, if she's doing as good a job, of course, that's not the point. Right. But the whole thing of, and I think there's like, the whole thing of they're against what, the patriarchy, is that the
Yes.
yeah, that's the
Yes.
thing. So and that's a whole
Down with fathers.
right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so being the father of the man podcast, obviously like we're pretty pro patriarchy.
Yeah.
And I get that they're talking about this imagined system of oppression or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, but if you pull the threads, you kind of start to see it's not, hey, we don't want to be oppressed. It's, hey, we want to be the same.
Right.
Which is, it's doing themselves a disservice, and it's doing family functions a disservice, and society ultimately. Like, there's two different kinds of people that exist, men and women.
Yeah.
And when you say, no, everything's the same, we're going to do everything the exact same, well, then you can go down the Jordan Peterson route of all the equality versus equity and all that stuff. But
right.
basically, it becomes pretty muddled, and it obviously breaks down really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's interesting because even it's just super obviously mainstream and prevalent at this point. And one thing that's like one of my pet peeves is in movies or in books or whatever, in stories where it comes up where, like, I mean, because there's this whole thing with film now where it's like the girl boss trope, right? Where it's this idea of basically instead of writing like a actual strong female character, they're basically just giving females all the attributes of men. So it's like they'll be like, sword fighting through our waves of guys and doing all this stuff, and you're like, it not only is it just absurd, it's also just like takes you out of the story because it just doesn't reflect reality.
Well, it just so much of these films that are coming out, they just take you out of it because you're like, okay, this is clearly just a political push for an ideology instead of like, hey, this is a cool story.
Right.
I think they knocked it out of the park with Furiosa.
Yeah.
I think her character was a good, strong female lead.
Yeah, that's that.
Because she was actually like, it was realistic to how a woman would be in a scenario like that. Like, like she was hardcore and awesome and could shoot a gun and all that good stuff that anyone should be able to do.
Sure.
But she also wasn't this like Superman that just destroyed everybody. Like,
right. Well, and again, just physical differences, right? Like it's
That's
like,
it,
like when you see like a 100-pound woman throwing around 250-pound guys, it just starts to get absurd at a certain point, right?
I mean, I try to do that, and it's
absurd, dude. I try to do it, and
that's why I carry a taser.
I weigh over 200 pounds, and it's still hard for me.
Yeah, guys are big.
Yeah, dude. Some guys are hard to throw around.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. So with that, what are some, like, because the kind of the context of how we brought this up is, what are some ways that like men behave that would be kind of like maybe an unhelpful leaning toward their feminine side or whatever? It'd be like erring on the side of behaving more like a woman than rather than acquitting themselves like men, or
Quitting themselves
like men, not acquitting.
Well, first of all, do we have a feminine side?
Oh, that's a good question. I just said that.
Yeah.
Check me out. Yeah. So I think like I don't think I would stand on that statement. I think I was referring to, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I was referring to, it's kind of, I think it comes up in like psychological terms a lot,
Yeah.
but which, whatever, take that how you will. But it's kind of that idea of the more stereotypical feminine traits that men can also possess. And so what I mean by that would be like, I don't know, showing compassion, maybe having times when you're not in full aggressive mode, showing like the ability, for example, to nurture or to care for a small child or things like that. I don't know.
Tearing up listening to Dvorak's Ninth Symphony.
Yeah, tearing up listening to Dvorak's Ninth Symphony specifically. Exactly. Yep. That's what I was meaning.
That's what I figured you meant.
Yeah, exactly. But so I get the logic of that, but that term I'm not necessarily planting a flag on as far as like, do we have a feminine side? I think that it's kind of goes back to that like men and women aren't opposites thing. And so for example, like okay, let's get into this. So like what like is it appropriate for a man to cry conversation, right? Like we've already touched on that a little bit, but that idea, because I think that there's like showing outward shows of emotion, especially outward showing of negative emotion, and maybe even more specifically outward showing of negative emotion that isn't anger. would be so sadness, fear, those types of things would typically be and associated with femininity and womanhood, right? And so there's this so there's exactly, so there's this whole idea that it's like men should never do that,
right? Never do that.
So what do you think about that? Should they?
I don't think that's accurate.
Okay.
Well, no, I mean, the whole feminine.
I know.
I don't think, like, I think we've touched on this before, but like, like when I'm talking to my boys, like if Freddie's whining or whatever,
Sure.
I don't say stop acting like a girl.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, I think that's a blanket kind of disservice to women.
Yeah, well, and it's kind of excusing that behavior for women, which it's like that's not good for them to do either.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's more like, hey, start acting like a young man.
Yeah.
But I think if I don't like the term feminine side.
Yeah.
I never hear it on the other. I never hear it on the other side. Like, get in touch with your masculine side, lady. Like yeah. I mean, I think feminism is pushing that.
Sure.
But I would say, like for men, I would say get in touch with your gentler side. Sure.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with having some balance of those emotions.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's okay. And I cry sometimes.
You do?
Every once in a while.
How embarrassing.
I know, it's pretty feminine. Joke.
Yeah.
But you asked a question.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, what are some ways that men err?
Yeah.
Going too far towards the feminine side.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's where I'm trying. It's just the whole defining the terms and stuff. But
yeah.
I would say not their feminine side. I would say the feminine side.
Yeah, I like that.
Things that, so the word that came to my mind was abdication.
Okay.
Basically, the idea that, well, if we're equal and there's no difference, then I will abdicate the responsibility for providing to my wife.
Sure.
I will abdicate the responsibility of protecting my family to my wife. Like Matt Chandler's example way back where he's like, if someone breaks into my house in the middle of the night, I'm not going to crawl into the bed and tell my wife to go get him.
Right.
Like, there's just an inherent responsibility there.
Yeah.
And I think culture has shifted so far to try to push this narrative of equality in that sense that it's like, well, yeah, there should be nothing wrong with that. Like,
right.
Let her do her thing. And
yeah.
It's like,
honey, get the baseball bat. There's somebody in the house.
And if you truly, I think if people were honest, I don't think any reasonable person would say, yeah, that's the way it should be.
Right.
Like, I think most people would agree. Yeah, no, dude, get up there and go to work. Like,
yeah.
So, abdication is one way.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good one. That's better than the ones I thought of. That's huge. I think that's probably one of the biggest is that, and
it's kind of a catch-all. Sorry.
Well, no, but I like that word too, because it really speaks to the problem, because it's something that it's negligence. It's a not doing what you should be doing. It's I don't know, sin of omission, if you will, but it's that idea of not leading. Yeah. It's like you're called to do certain things that are part of leadership, and to just abdicate is a phenomenal word for letting that go and being passive and letting you know, essentially shoving that responsibility onto your wife and putting her in a position where she has to be basically the man in the relationship, right? Which is not, it's not
fair.
good for either of you. Yeah, it's not fair to her, and that's one of many ways, like you're saying, that I think feminism. Yes, it's people talk about how feminism has hurt men and young men in our culture. I think it's really important to say it's also really hurt, I think, women in our culture, like because there's a well-known, well-talked about like dearth of strong men in this country that are that and women feel that there's a lot of complaining out there about like where can I find a good man kind of thing, you know?
Right.
And it's I think it's like, well, yeah, if you want your men to be acting like, essentially beta neutered house pet toward the feminine side guys, you're gonna miss the manly men.
You're gonna miss the manly men, and you're gonna find yourself having to step into these roles that you were not built for.
Yeah,
like there's and not in any. I mean, obvious. Like we have roles that we're built for that we have to step into, and we don't. Things fall apart. But
sure.
Like, I mean, even like on the abdication front, like the way things shook out in Eden.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, the woman made me do it.
Yeah.
Abdicating. Oh, and it's interesting because it says he was with her. So it's not like he was like, creating a fish trap somewhere and then the sky darkened and he's like, what the heck are you doing, woman? Like it was like they were together and she's like, oh. And he's like, see how this plays out, and I don't know obviously we don't know what his psychology was there, but like why he chose to abdicate there and then try to shift the blame to her.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was his failure in leadership that led to where we are today.
Yeah, and he was held responsible regardless, and that
exactly.
And that's the point, is that and it's interesting because it's like it went in kind of how God set things up in the world. It's just because you want to pretend like just because you want to abdicate or you want to pretend like you don't have that role, or you want to, it's like, oh, that sounds stressful and my wife really wants to do this anyway and whatever. Just because you want to play at that doesn't mean that the consequences aren't still on you. Like you are responsible for it, whether you take responsibility for it or not.
And to be clear, in case people want to nitpick, that's not saying like, oh yeah, Adam, should have kept his wife in line. Like she should have obeyed him, and he should have been like, hey, you're not doing that. It's not that.
Yeah.
If he's properly loving and leading, it's going to be, hey, let's not do that together. Like let's avoid that.
Yeah.
Rather than some like Sharia law type thing where you know what I mean?
No, yeah, we're not trying to preach some sort of totalitarian craziness.
No.
That's certainly not.
But teamwork, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If they're able to tag team and try to lie to God together or hide from God, they can certainly tag team and try to find God. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Well, and tag team, and then also just leadership, because it's and understanding what leadership is, and we've talked about this a bit too. But the idea of like leadership is sacrifice. It's not this like. Again, this isn't some dictator thing. It's not, and we've talked about a lot about the difference between dominion and domination, right? And it's not domination. It's not this like like you said, Sharia law, like total control, whatever. But it is a responsibility to lead. Yeah. And in that responsibility, like with leadership, it's like that leadership is sacrifice. It is giving up of yourself for the other. It is doing what's better for them than for you.
Yes.
But it is still leadership. Like the buck still stops with you. Like it is like ultimately on you what happens.
Yeah. And that's part of stewardship, right? It's you're causing something to flourish that's under your care.
Yeah.
So if you're in a relationship, like a really dysfunctional marriage where you believe along the lines of extreme control and you will obey me, woman, and all that stuff.
Sure.
That's going to go way off the rails, and it does, and you see it all the time. That's not causing her to flourish. That's not
at all.
That's not elevating her more and more and more to where she so causing to flourish, stewardship, dominion.
Yeah.
I think that has to, like you said, it has to be sacrificed. Like I will sacrifice my time, effort, and attention to make this family, make my wife elevated and better all the time.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And just that, coming back to that, like we keep saying, like you're responsible for it, whether you take responsibility or not, or I keep saying that, I think, I don't know.
I love hearing it.
It's hard to say who's saying what, but good thing this is recorded. We can find out, but
suss this out later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. But when I'm saying that, it's very specific. It's not just like this vague sense of responsibility. It's like you're responsible to God, like you're responsible to God for that.
Yes.
Like you have responsibility to him for how you're
Yes.
behaving and how you're acting.
Mhm.
And so that should cause, if, somebody's with any modicum of wisdom, that should cause kind of fear and trepidation in the heart of the leader of like, hey, I'm accountable for how I'm leading.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Like, it's not this like, oh sweet, I'm in charge, I get to do whatever I want. It's
Right.
like, no,
Right.
that's not it
Yep.
at all. Like,
Yep.
like you are not God. You don't have the final say in the direction you need to go. You need to be listening to him and seeking him and following him as you're leading your family. Right, dude, I gotta pound it from that. Thanks.
I think that was a really good thing to say.
Cool. Wow.
Oh, man.
That's like the first pound it in the history of the podcast. I just feel or maybe the second.
I don't think it's the first.
Anyway, it felt monumentous. Monumental. I liked it, is what I'm trying to say. So
We'll
thanks.
be right back.
Yeah. So that's good.
Yeah.
Good job. We talked about that. I get another one so
Yeah, dude.
soon. Now you're watering it down.
Yeah, sorry.
It's
I
not
don't
as-
want to get too inflated.
Whew, man. So that's kind of marriage, gender role stuff. Okay. So here's another way. Oh yeah, we were talking about ways that men err, and abdication was where we were.
I think that's a good summary catch-all.
Yeah, I think so too. I think another way. Yeah, no, that pretty much covers everything else I would have said.
Mhm.
So I think that pretty well does it. Let's stick with that. That's our answer. Abdication.
Okay.
That's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You can get a
What,
pound it for that.
what about different roles in parenting? So like mother, father, like what are some things that mothers bring to the table that fathers don't, and vice versa?
Yeah. It's a great question.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, mothers definitely bring nurturing and comfort,
Yeah.
and it's cool because so much of the stuff we talk about, and we probably say this too much, but like there are statistical studies that show the evidence in the fruit of these different deviations from the main
Yeah.
like path. But like mothers bring nurturing and comfort, and when they don't, the kid suffers.
Yeah.
Fathers bring you call it the call to adventure, or the pushing the kids.
Challenge. Yeah.
The challenge, right? And
Yeah.
and they're more, I mean, parents should be united on the discipline front all the time, but the dads are generally the ones leading and initiating that, and their role is more of a refiner's role.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then I'd say the mother's role is more of the keeping the refining process from going off the rails and destroying the metal that's being smelted.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I like that. I think yeah, I agree. I think yeah, how I've thought of it is kind of like I don't know, let's see if I can put words to my thoughts here. It's like mothers are well, we've talked about this before, where it's like mothers are kind of shelter from the storm, and then fathers are essentially kind of the training and the guide in like going out into the storm and practicing facing the storm of life, with the storm being life, right?
Right.
And I think that's in line with what you were just saying, where it's kind of that idea of mothers, I think, can bring a unique layer of comfort and stability and security, and obviously fathers do too, but fathers I think have a unique position to be able to call out and call up and to challenge and to train in a way that is toward pushing boundaries, pushing comfort zones, pushing skills, skill sets out to the point where you're preparing them to launch, right?
Yeah.
And I think obviously mothers and fathers can do both, but I think that typically role wise they're more suited to those kind of
And you need
distinctions.
both.
Yeah.
Like I love the garden analogy, the greenhouse analogy. Like if you have saplings that you grow in a greenhouse in a sheltered environment, no storms ever.
Yeah.
Always the proper comfort, care, nurturing, and nutrition. And they grow up in this greenhouse, and then you just plant it one day out in the middle of the storm.
Yeah.
It's gonna die. It's gonna suffer. It's not gonna thrive. And so trees are grown outdoors for a reason, right? Even saplings, that's how they're grown. Yeah. And it's the same thing. They still need nurture. They still need care. They still need to be looked after. But the storm comes along and it's okay because they experience it. And so that's where the father steps in and helps them. It kind of breaks down. We're talking about trees, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, yeah.
Well, with kids,
Man is
it's
not
the
a
same.
tree.
Man is not a tree. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Episode 7,000.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there needs to be the exposure to the world because it's a dark freaking world we live in. And,
Yeah.
You're not causing your kids to flourish by sheltering them and babying them and only going the nurture route with them.
Right.
You have to help them experience that. So I think I'm just repeating what we said.
Yeah, well,
ad
it's still
nauseam.
good. It's still true. And yeah, no, I think so what are some ways I like getting more kind of practical with it? Like what are some ways that cuz you know, Father of the Man podcast, we also started Taskbook Alpha, which is a club for intentional fathers.
Official sponsor.
Yeah. And basically like what are some practical ways that that can like look like how it, so for example, if you're speaking to a father who feels disconnected from his kids, has been working a ton, they're being raised essentially 90% by the mom, and he's looking to connect with his kids and like kind of get more into his role as a father.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you think are some practical like things, like what does that look like that
Carve out time.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like especially in my line of work with the overtime trap.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really easy to say, well, this is good money.
Yeah.
I'm getting paid a lot to be here on, time and a half or double time or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it can be a trap because like, well, I need to provide for my family. So I'm going to do this. And then next thing you know, you have 1 or 2 days on your weekend, you're exhausted. So you want to veg out and the kids suffer for it, and your wife suffers for it. So for me, just carving out time and intentionality, like whether that's getting on some sort of program like Taskbook Alpha or simply just saying, hey, once a week, I'm going to take my boys out. Once a week, I'm going to take my girls out and do something with them and teach them something. Like think about practical skills you could teach them. Think about challenges you could do with them rather than, hey, buddy, it's finally the weekend. Let's just, do you need to take that?
No.
It's like, hey, it's finally the weekend. Daddy's tired. Let's just watch some movies and hang out. That's fine to do from time to time. But,
Sure.
But like, hey, buddy, I know I'm exhausted and it's been a long week, but hey, I'm going to take you out and we're going to camp tonight or something,
Yeah.
and throw some challenges in there. But I think it just has to be a time thing. Like you have to understand that your time with your kids is far more important than your time earning money.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I agree, and it's interesting. It's good for me to hear right now, honestly, because I've been working more than normal, and it's interesting because I think it's time, and then I think you spoke to it too, but like it's also just energy because it's one of those things where, like you said, even when you do have the time, you're exhausted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, and so it's like it. It is still spending time with your kids to just like be around them vaguely, and then to like watch TV with them or watch a movie with them or whatever. Like that is still time spent, and that's something. And again, there's that's fine. There's a time and place for that, but it's really easy for that kind of thing to become the default. And one, you're just kind of modeling. That's what the only time they see you is that you're vegging out. I know I've had seasons of that where I've had to change from that course, and then there's also just the thought that if you are going to be that person who's instilling in them that sense of adventure and that expanding of their comfort zones and that like embracing of challenge and hardship and kind of getting out there and doing life, like you need to at least you need to regularly be doing that with them or modeling that for them.
Yeah.
And so that's really good because it's one of those things where, like you said, it's like it takes it's sacrifice, right? Like it takes energy when you may not have it
right
to make that choice to be like, all right, we're gonna go do something, like we just go on a hike, or we're gonna go fly fishing or we're gonna wrestle, right? Like we're gonna roughhouse. Like it's like there's plenty of times that I do not feel like roughhousing, even though I like that kind of thing, it's like but it's like I don't like that kind of thing when I'm fried,
right.
but it's just kind of a reminder too that like mood follows action, that whole idea
Totally.
that like if you wait till you're in the mood to do something really active and energetic and like challenging with your kids, like that might not ever happen.
It's true.
Like, and so it's just kind of a thing of like just start doing it, and then I'll find that if I am like when we do start like messing around and I start like wrestling with my kids or whatever, like about 5 minutes in, I'm having a blast too, and like
Yeah.
the energy comes up and it's like, all right, we're doing this, you know.
It's setting aside personal desires for something more important. But it's funny because it's almost like it's by design. Like you said, once you start that, you're like, oh, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
we didn't push this off. You know?
Totally.
But it just on the topic of, you know, vegging out with the kids, watching movies and stuff, it is time spent with them. And that is good
Yeah, it's something.
at times. But that's also, I think, like you said, if it becomes the default, now you just got two nurturers, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that moms only sit around and watch movies. Like, that's
No,
not,
that's no, yeah, that's not what you're saying. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, hey, this is comfortable. This is easy. I have to put no effort into this for you. It's actually probably easier for me than you. Like, we're just going to sit here, watch a movie. I'm going to have a beer. And that's going to be what we do all the time for kid time.
Right.
That's just more of the home environment.
Sure.
And I think getting them out of that and getting them
Yeah.
stretched beyond their comfort zone is vital.
Yeah, totally. Well, and I think that's good because that puts it into kind of viewing it as a responsibility and as something that like you need to do. It's not like if I feel like it or if it's fun or whatever. It's like it will be fun if you do it, but it's that like no, this is something that that's part of your calling as a father.
Yes.
is to get out there with them, go have adventures, push their comfort zones, challenge them to do things, challenge them physically, mentally. You know, like get them out doing stuff. You know?
And it's a really cool blessing too, because like I've always, you know, the weird like time guilt, like
Sure.
like if I'm hanging out with you, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I love hanging out with you and we go do fun stuff and
Hey,
it's like
thanks.
it's really great.
Yeah.
And I always enjoy it. But
You
I
feel
always have
guilty
this,
afterwards?
Like, I'm like
Me too.
and then I'll be like
We need to hang out less, man.
or just change what we do, I guess.
We'll talk about this later.
But no, it's like it's not a permission thing by any stretch, but it's like I'll call Lindsay and be like, hey, like, you sure you're good with me doing this?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
do you need me at the house? Because I know you're tired and pregnant. Like, and she's always like, duh, dude, go hang out with your buddy. Quit being a weirdo, you know?
Yeah.
But all that to say, it's really cool specifically with the kids and the responsibility, like you said, that we have to do these things with them.
Yeah.
That when you view it as a responsibility and not just frivolous time spent,
Yeah.
it's like, oh no, it's a huge blessing because not only is it good for them, it's also fun. Like,
Oh yeah.
like even fly. I love fly fishing.
Yeah. I know.
And I'm not gonna lie. Anytime my kids want to go, I'm like, oh, I guess I can take you, buddy. Like, this is my responsibility as your father. But no, it is truly, it's great because like Henry, we've gone out. We wake up at 4:30 in the morning, drive an hour to the river. It's still dark out. We almost hit an elk and died the other day. And then we go fishing, and it's just this really cool experience. And I'm teaching him, and we're, you know, hanging out. And it's like that was really hard, and it also was like as far as waking up early. and
Sure.
stuff.
Yeah. Especially on your day off. Yeah.
Yeah, I slept an hour that night. That sucked.
Oof. Yeah.
But the point is, that's not just me being like, hey, I just need to get away and go do something. Although there's time and exception for that too. But hey, this is actually something that's benefiting my family. This is actually good for them, and my wife loves seeing it because she loves the benefits of me hanging out with my kids. Like,
Oh yeah.
and so it's kind of a cool thing the way God set family up. It's like, yeah, when you follow your responsibilities as father and go do these things, you actually end up. You can kind of cater it to what you want to do anyway.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. You can do stuff that's enjoyable for everyone. And there's nothing like, it's funny because a lot of times I'll be, I don't know, like stressed out or like my mind's all on work or whatever, or just kind of like wrapped up in life and you kind of like, especially, I don't know, like as a single guy back in the day, I think I can remember that barely. But like you'd want to unwind with like activities, right? Like you'd always want to like either hang out with friends or you'd want to, I don't know, do something that is like lazy or veg out, or you'd want to just kind of de-stress, right? Mm-hmm. And you have your de-stressor go-tos.
Yep.
And it's so cool. Cause like, I'll just say like, there's a barrier somewhat mentally sometimes to like investing that like intentional time with the kids when you're tired, like we're talking about, but like I don't know of any better de-stressor other than I guess spending time with my wife. But spending time with my wife and kids is like the most fulfilling, relaxing, like fueling thing, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like once you get into it and once you are in it and afterward, like it is the de-stressor you're looking for.
It's very life.
Yeah, it is. It's really, really good. And it's partly just like taking joy in who you're being as a man, as opposed to just like looking for, you know, pleasure seeking activities like a boy, right?
Right,
But
right.
that's into erring on the boy side, so we'll save that for that episode.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, you know, because we both have sons and daughters.
Yeah.
Um, it applies to both.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the activity itself might be a little different,
Yeah.
you know, but taking the time with my daughters is just as important, obviously, as taking the time with my sons.
Yeah.
And you might do things differently, but I was out with one of my daughters today on a date, and we were talking about some of the homeschool stuff we're going to be doing in the, you know, this year.
Yeah.
We started already.
Sure.
But one of the classes, I was like explaining what home ec kind of involves, and I was like, yeah, we're going to teach all of you kids, you know, how to cook, how to clean the house, how to do laundry, how to maintain a peaceful home.
Nice.
And it was funny because Amelia's like, those are girl jobs. And which I was like, listen, those are jobs that mommy does because daddy works full time
Sure.
and someone has to do it. I was like, but what about when I was young and single, or what about when the boys grow up and are single and living on their own?
Sure.
Like it's going to be absolute chaos if they don't have that feminine art. Right?
Yeah.
Like they need to know that stuff. It's just as important for them.
Yeah, definitely.
And, you know, or you know, when mommy gets sick, daddy has to pick up the slack, and it's these are all good things. But the whole point is the parenting side of things. It's not so much specific to the activities you're doing. Like, your kids will still be growing and learning if you're teaching them how to cook versus teaching them how to change a tire. But we are more suited in a lot of different ways for those kind of things, and the harder things and the more challenging, you know, stressors and stuff like that.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. Yeah, I think that's good. I agree. It's a good reminder to me, man, for sure. Cause just again, coming back to that intentionality piece of like, having it be a priority in your life, and then having it be like even scheduled, like get it on the books, like just block out time, like make it happen, even if you're tired or whatever. And you know, try and structure your life in such a way that it allows time for that. Cause these things we're talking about that fathers can do with their sons, or that we can do with our sons or daughters, like they are transformational in the lives of human beings. Like every study corroborates that. Like it's a big deal. And the more time we're being intentional about that, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. You want them to be, again, to flourish and to grow up being confident people that can build society up. Like, and when they don't have that, it shows. And you can see that a lot in our youth today. It's like, you can see where the dad wasn't there, and you can see where they didn't have the challenges, and they're crippled. You know? And so, yeah, it's important.
That's good. Cool. What are anything else you have on the topic of man is not a woman? Any other differences? Any other things that you think are worth calling out?
Well, let me think about this.
I was just going to say, back to the like crying and
an
emotional thing. Well, you said you were going to think about it.
I can't think when you're talking, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
listening to you.
All you do when I talk is think about what you're going to say next.
That's not true.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Relax. Okay, we'll talk about this later.
What am I going to say next?
Yeah, just what was I going to say? Basically I was getting at the idea that as far as like shows of emotion or whatever, I just think that the differences and like the ways that you don't want to err on that side, I think, and we touched on it again, or I think already, but it's that idea of if it's inhibiting or hurting your ability to lead, then that's when it becomes a problem. So it's like, it's not like that crying is inherently unmanly, but I think crying when there needs to be action taking place is unmanly, right? Or even like showing negative emotion or fear or whatever, like women and children, like your wife and kids, will take their cues from you and how you respond to things. Totally. So if you're reacting in a very emotional way, or in a very clearly flustered way, or a clearly fearful way, or a clearly sad way, it will trickle down really hard to your family, to the point where you're just leading in chaos, as opposed to having a stiff upper lip, having a little bit of stoicism, having a little bit of, I don't know, manliness, and going, hey, we're going to deal with this. It's going to be fine. And obviously it doesn't mean you're not scared. It doesn't mean you're not sad. It doesn't mean you're not any of these things, but there's times when as a leader, you need to sublimate that, or what is that word I keep missing? Submit that, to subordinate that to your leadership role, and instilling confidence and leading in a clear direction and being decisive and taking care of business, right?
Yes.
So anyway, I was just going to point that out. Emotions overwhelming you at times when you need to be leading, I think, is a way that men can err on the feminine side, if you will.
Control your emotions.
Yeah. At appropriate times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But if you're alone and you need to process grief or something, it's not like it's wrong to cry or something.
Or even with your kids.
Sure.
In the proper context, sure, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
If it's in the moment, that's probably not the time for it.
Yeah.
You don't want to create a bunch of insecure, fear mongers. You want to say, hey, no, we trust the Lord and we're going to get through this, and
right.
And we'll process this later when we can, when it's appropriate.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have a thought.
Cool. What is it?
On the man-woman difference. Like we talked about, like Jeff Dies, one of the things he loves most about women is that they're not men.
Yeah, for sure.
So with my wife, she is such a support and such a strength to me.
Yeah.
And so much better than I deserve. She's amazing.
She is. Yeah. She's much better than you deserve.
Shout out Lindsay. But she is the one that really keeps me grounded. Mm-hmm. She's such an amazing strength to me. And without her, I think I would crumble pretty quick as a father. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She is
I see what you mean.
She is the glue that keeps our household sane.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting, as we're talking about taking care of the kids and making sure we cut out time for them. It's equally important, if not more so, to do so for your wife as well.
Yeah.
Because just as much as she is the support and the strength for us to carry on as men and as fathers and husbands, we're the strength that they need to carry on as mothers and teachers and wives. And so I would just say, it's because we didn't really talk about this, but it's really important as fathers are figuring out how to spend more time with their kids, that they also put the wife on the same priority schedule.
Totally. That's a very good point.
You can't just say, okay, well, wife, you got everything handled, so I'm going to hang out with the kids all the time.
Right.
She needs to be nurtured and supported and strengthened in her work, because that's work that I could not imagine doing.
Yeah.
Especially
day in, day out. You're never fully off. It's a ton.
And that's why my heart really goes out to single moms. It's dude, that's a lot to do. That
whole lot.
That is a hard life to live.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And so, just shout out wives.
Yeah, absolutely.
we just if I wanted to communicate anything, is, hey, there is a big difference, and in as much as we need them, they need us. And so no, that's a really, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's another thing. It just, like we were talking about being intentional with the kids. It's the same thing with your, or same principle with your wife, mm-hmm. as far as just taking the time. It's really easy, especially being married for years and years and years. We just celebrated 14th anniversary, which is crazy. That's great,
because it feels like a lot to us.
We just did 11.
We're like, whoa, that's crazy.
That was a lot.
I know, yeah. So congratulations. But that said, you can, it's obviously, this is, it should be obvious, but it's easy to be able to be in a position where you're taking things for granted, mm-hmm. or you kind of get settled in your roles, or you're getting good at what you're doing, and you're kind of cruising along. Yeah. And it's really important to keep that at the forefront of your mind and your priorities, to be investing in your marriage, to be investing in that relationship, date nights, trying to connect as often as possible throughout the week. Basically just, spending time together and stuff.
Yeah.
And then,
playing Scrabble.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. But then taking the time now we're getting into relationships, but taking time to talk and just have time for conversation
Yeah.
is especially with busy lives and kids and work and everything
Mm-hmm.
else. It's really easy to just like, we haven't even talked about anything that wasn't just like a real quick, like, back and forth.
You're
We
right.
haven't just sat down and talked about anything, life, whatever, in a while, so just kind of taking those times to make sure you have that. I highly recommend. We do a date night almost every week.
That's awesome.
And
Yeah.
and that is like, and I know that's like, we're kind of spoiled because we have a sweet babysitting hookup.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Craig and Renee Jones, are my father and mother-in-law. But that's just like extremely life-giving to our marriage and trickles down to the kids and everything else. So
for sure, dude.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and it's
big.
interesting. You mentioned in passing that it's easy to get complacent because you get, you just kind of get in your roles and you just do your thing. And that's one thing that I think would help a ton of guys is to define roles, right? Because there is, the contention is that there is a difference between men and women,
Yeah.
and there are roles that God has designed for us differently.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of discord when there's confusion as to what those roles are, especially when the confusion is foisted on society by, these radical feminists and these people that are saying, no, you go out and make the bread, like money.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you should be making bread, but not that kind. I'm just kidding.
Sourdough.
No, but like that is such a huge, it seems so obvious to say, but it's such a huge advantage in a relationship is when the man understands this is my responsibility. And
Yeah.
the woman understands this is my responsibility. And we have a lot of overlap, but ultimately we have our jobs and we're going to stick to the jobs.
Yeah.
And that's hence not abdicating, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can just do that. You can be responsible for teaching the boys everything. You can be responsible for this. I worked hard this week, so
Right.
That's a confusion of roles, and
It is.
If you look at how well families function when the wife is wifing and the husband's husbanding, it's cause and effect. And
Yeah. Yeah, the results are in, man. It works really well. And it's interesting because, even what you're talking about, I'm thinking about, like, I'm sure this applies to like just about every job where there's a collaboration of effort. But I, grew up in the restaurant and coffee industries. And so like, for me, it's like, it's so clear when you're like working at a restaurant and everybody knows what their job is, like what their section is or what their role is. And it's always really clearly defined if it's a well-run place. And not only does that provide security in that, like, whether you're doing a good job at your job or not, because you know what your job is,
right?
But it allows for when there is something different, or you do need to help somebody else out, or somebody else needs to help you out. It provides a context for communication. So like all communication is, or I don't know, this is going to be a big generalized statement, but I think all communication largely depends on context, right? So
Yes.
so it's the roles are what provide context for communication. So it's like the norm is what provides a baseline for identifying modifiers or variables. Because and if you don't have the norm, if you don't both have the same expectation of the default goal, then you're not going to know what modifiers to communicate.
Totally.
And as a result, you're going to get gaps, and then you're going to get duplication of effort. You're going to be stepping over each other's toes, or you're going to be just totally letting things fall because I thought you had that. I thought you had that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just a good way to run anything is to have really clearly defined roles.
Yeah.
And it's just efficient because it provides context for communication. And then when things do get weird, or like I do get sick or she gets sick or different, whatever things happen in life that require a modification, you have the plan that you're deviating from, so you know what to communicate.
Yes.
And it works really well because you both have the same context.
But you have to have a baseline.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Otherwise, if it's a constant state of flux, then the kids are going to suffer the most for it.
Right.
And it's going to be very dysfunctional.
Oh yeah, it's going to cause all kinds of problems.
Well,
so.
and you're going to start looking. That's how marriages fall apart. You're going to start looking to other options because you think that you're not being fulfilled properly, or
right.
that things just aren't working for whatever reason. And it's like, well, it's probably because you're not walking in your responsibilities.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
But what's cool is the baseline, like we always try to say, is our baseline for this is Scripture.
Sure.
And it's, the Bible is full of really good information on how to structure a family properly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no coincidence that when you follow that nuclear family model, things work.
Yeah.
Society works,
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well said.
Thanks.
Cool, man. We just solved, I think, all the problems. So no
Okay.
excuses. Everything needs to be perfect now.
That's right. Yeah,
We nailed it.
If your marriages and families and kids are not perfect, then I don't know what you're doing.
I know, right? Oh yeah. No,
But we're also we're open to feedback and opinions and ideas. So
Sure.
if anyone wants to share, please do.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. And specifically too, I'd love to hear things that you guys are doing to be intentional with your wives and with your kids, and
Yeah.
kind of like, always looking for ideas and good inspiration. Because and this is part of what we wanted to do with Task Book Alpha and the podcast too, is kind of just we're looking to kind of build a community around having these conversations, because it's so funny, like humans, man, like we focus on whatever's kind of it's kind of that tyranny of the urgent concept of like, we just focus on whatever is the most time sensitive thing a lot of
Right.
times, and it's not even what's the most important thing, it's just what is coming at us and
Yeah.
grabbing our attention. And so obviously that can be work and life and everything else, and then especially when you add in electronics and media and phones and everything else, like we live in, people talk about the attention economy or whatever, and I mean, I think we're actually part of that. We want people to pay attention to this podcast anyway, whatever.
Please do.
Yeah. But that said, it's like you have all these things that are grabbing your attention, and just taking it, getting in the habit and practice of just taking time to stop and choose what you're paying attention to is really important. And just I guess, yeah, choosing to have your days reflect what you actually have as priorities, as opposed to just letting your time get sucked away by whatever happens. I was going somewhere specific with this, and I think I lost it, but I stand by what I just said.
To summarize,
Yeah.
whack-a-mole is fun,
Yeah.
but you don't want to be playing it the rest of your life.
Amen, brother. Dude, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, nailed it.
You don't want to be in the arcade the
Yeah,
whole time. You want to
totally.
have actual moles to whack on a property that you had vision for your children to grow up on.
Dude, you just hit the mole on the head with that one.
Boink.
Good job. Yeah. No, I had something. Oh yeah, it was feedback. I was saying,
Oh, yeah.
if when you're in it, hopefully this is what we're trying to do with this podcast, but okay. So what I was trying to say was, when I'm listening to, like, for example, like a health related podcast, on the regular, like once or twice a week, I like it. My health habits radically change just from having it be present in my mind. It like reminds me that, like, oh, food is fuel, and you should probably move your body sometimes, and like drink water, like whatever. But like, and it's not even about the information in the podcast or the audiobook or whatever, the thing is, it's more about just like, again, just bringing the things you want to be top of mind to the top of mind.
The mindset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it just kind of reminds you, like, oh yeah, I'm a father.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh yeah, I can actually make choices about this. I can actually like put that on my calendar.
Yeah.
And so like, if this is, that's part of the benefit we're hoping to like contribute to,
Yes.
is, and what we'd love to get as far as feedback too, like if you guys, anything you guys are able to contribute to the conversation, as far as, hey, we do this, or hey, I did this with my kids the other day and it was awesome, or whatever, like, it not only, even if we don't do that specific idea, because it's like a really lame idea, like even if we hate the idea, if it's a bad idea,
I'll like it.
no, but even if we don't do that specific thing, it reminds us to do things like it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I think that's crucial. That's a really good point. The mindset thing, right? Like the Bible says, set your mind on things that are above.
yeah,
So when you set something on something, sometimes it falls off,
yeah,
and you just leave it down there. You pick it back up and set it up there. So things
Yeah.
that are above, things that are transcendent, things that are important for posterity and for your future, and for what God is calling you to.
yeah,
You got to set your mind up there.
yeah,
And I think that's a really good way to do it. That's one of the blessings of like podcasts. It's
Yeah.
like, it can be just a bunch of funny nonsense, which is probably,
which we aspire to
we
as
do
well.
a lot of that.
Yeah,
But it also can be, whether or not it's even, like you said, it's not necessarily the information as much as just the processing and the thinking about these things.
yeah,
and
yeah.
fanning that flame.
Yeah, it gets you back into father mode, or
Yeah.
husband mode or whatever.
Like
And-
right now,
yeah.
I'm starting to love my family again.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but for real, like that was funny, but
Thank you.
this has been encouraging to me, man, is what I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
yeah, yeah.
Like literally, like I'm excited to be put in remembrance, and like obviously I sit here and preach this stuff or whatever,
Right.
but like it's good for me to hear even from you and whatever, just again, it's a reminder to be like, yeah, I do need to. I'm in a season right now where I do need to schedule more time with my kids. Like I want to, and I've also been like, tired, whatever. And again, it's like, okay, I need to figure out how I can a lot more energy to this, and whether that's dialing back on something or just manning up and doing it even when I'm tired and on 1 hour of sleep, like you inspirational man,
No.
but you know what I mean, like either just suck it up and do it anyway, or just maybe restructure some things so I have even more capacity to be able to invest that time and do those things that aren't just vegging out with the kids but are actually getting them out there.
Totally, dude. I think it's kind of a scary mirror to look into sometimes.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Because most mirrors are for me. Yeah.
Right on, dude. If you start thinking about it broadly, you start to see, okay, like you said, like, hey, how do I restructure my schedule? How do I do this? And you start to realize what you've been prioritizing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you're like,
So
wait, I do have time.
Yeah, and if I break it down for myself, I'm like, okay, am I prioritizing making a little more money on overtime over the lifelong benefit of my children spending time with me? Like,
yeah.
And so, not to say that you shouldn't do overtime if you need to do overtime, like whatever.
Yeah,
but as an example.
there's seasons and times, and
but
whatever.
But it's good to look at it and to think about it and to process it and to say, okay, what am I truly saying is most important in my life right now?
Yeah.
And if it doesn't fall into the category of God, wife, kids,
yeah,
maybe think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Is it actually more important than those three things?
Right.
I doubt it.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's
fly
good.
Fishing.
But again, it's like, whatever.
It's not more important.
Well, you do it with your kids. That's the point. You
That's
know what
it.
I mean? Yeah.
I have to.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. No, that's really good. It's and like I was saying, like I think we talked about this a while back too, but the idea that when we were talking about nonfiction books on the the last episode,
NFBs.
I was talking about my whole little like diatribe about how like I think most personal development books should be essays that you read regularly.
Yes.
It's the same kind of idea. It's that idea that it's like, hey, it's not even that some ideas are very deep and take a long time to explore, and that's awesome. But like some ideas are just really good on their face, and you don't need to like pull them apart to, we don't have to like, go find out more about it as much as we need to be reminded of it. Right.
Yeah.
And there's the importance of being put in remembrance, and the importance of like, hey, listening to a fatherhood podcast or whatever, like, yeah, you might get something you hadn't heard of or something you hadn't thought of. You might get some tools, and that's awesome. But for me, a big benefit of just kind of being in these spaces is just being put in remembrance of things I already know and believe in. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I do want that to be a priority. So anyway.
Yeah. Figuring out the questions and the answers to them.
Yeah.
As best we can.
Yeah.
Like Chesterton talking about in orthodoxy, he's like, yeah, there's a faulty way to think, and that is just to keep asking questions without actually approaching truth.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, okay, is this true? And if it is true, how do I reconcile my life to it? You just say, well, what about this? And what about this?
Yeah.
So to really, set your mind on those things. I think that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back into that. You can't steer a ship that's not moving, right? It's that whole idea of like action is required for learning as well. I've heard the analogy of like learning being one foot and action being the other, and it's like you kind of learn and move and learn and move and learn and move. If you're just learning, you're just going to spin around in circles, and like same with action. Like if you're
duck with a broken foot.
if you're doing you're just going and you're not ever learning anything new, you're going to just spin out too.
Yeah.
But so it's kind of that equilibrium of what gets you forward. I kind of like that.
It's interesting because again, like Chesterton talks about, he's like, if that's your world's a pretty small world, and your angels must be the size of moths.
Yeah.
So if you're stomping in a circle, you're going to draw this line around you, and that's where you're going to end up.
Right. Exactly.
That's a cool analogy.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. So,
well,
there's that.
What do you think?
I don't know. I think we said stuff, and I think I was encouraged.
I feel good.
So yeah, I think I've podcasted enough for today.
I have too, man.
Yeah.
We should hang out sometime.
Let's do it right after this.
Okay.
Check with your wife.
Therefore is poverty that hangs his head and all that. The coward slave, we pass him by. We dare be pure for all that. For all that, and all that. Our toils obscure and all that. The rank is but the guinea stand. The man's the God. Though unhamely fairy died, we're old and grey and all that. Give fools their silks and knaves is king of men for all that. You see on Berkey Cather Lord, what struts and stares and all that. Though hundreds worship at his word, he's but a coup for all that. For all that and all that, his ribbon star. He looks in